And hello, everybody. Great to see you. I'm really happy to be here with you tonight. Super cool to see some old friends I haven't seen in a long time. I'm also tuning in. Yeah, and welcome to Dream Parenting. So this is the latest title. I've given a couple of webinars the last couple of months, the last one on gaming. So yeah, I don't know if you all know me or know what I do, but I would love to see, first of all, before we get into it, just where you're calling in from. Please do post in the chat. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. I'd love to see any comments or responses you have or questions you might have to anything that I'm saying as we go through the webinar. So please do post in the chat. I'm just going to keep an eye on it for now. So where are you all? How old are your children? It'd be great to know that as well. How old are your kids and where are you streaming in from? So yeah, just post your message in the chat. I can see Deborah's from Honeybourne, Worcestershire, and has a 17-year-old daughter. That's great to hear. Where are the rest of you and how old are your teens? It'd be great to just kick off. Norway, yes, 20, 18 and 15, brilliant. Well, awesome to have you all here. Yes, Liz, Ipswich, Suffolk. My boys are still quite young, 9.5 and newly 6. However, time flies. I'm a teacher of teens, so this is all helpful. Yeah. And just to say, nothing that I'm sharing tonight is not going to apply to basically children of all ages. I happen to work with teenagers. So yeah, my background is as a teen mentor and a parent coach. That's how I'm working these days. And I've had 20 years experience as a tutor. I founded a website and a training platform called the Young Fire Academy, which does teen mentorship programs, about 12 weeks long, teen mentorship programs, parent coaching, there's specialist tuition as part of that. I'm an English and maths GCSE tutor and mindset coaching. Yeah, so that my background is in working with young people, increasingly working with parents as well. I ran a trust challenge last year in November, which was a week-long challenge for parents, and trust is a massive part of what the leap I feel like we all need to make in this day and age for parents. So that's part of what this webinar will also focus on. And I run a Facebook group, also called the Young Fire Facebook group, a community of 500 or so parents. I run weekly parenting calls, so I am in contact with parents and teens all day long, all week long, and it is just my life passion to be considering what is needed at this time, basically what is needed at this time in the world for us all to empower and educate and parent effectively our children, going into the future and to serve this time. Great. So yeah, I mean, like I say, it's an obsession of mine. I really feel like we could all be having a much easier time of it parenting, hence the title, Dream Teen Parenting. I am in touch with parents all the time, and so I have worked for at least the last 5 years in this area of helping parents basically do a lot less more to get much better results. So stress less, love more is how we branded this webinar. But yeah, it really applies to just many different areas where we're collectively, I would say, parenting in a way that doesn't serve us or our children. So yeah, here we have 3 essential ways to empower motivation. That's where I've come in. It's really the motivation, purpose, and joy for teenagers is where I've ended up from decades of tutoring and just looking at what is it here that we need to really open up and liberate parents and teens from what can be a lot of needless struggle and stress. Great, let's get into it. So this is the format for the webinar. Yes, the current culture and the circumstance. So I have a little bit of a look at this time, this day and age, what the challenges are. Not going to get into that too much. The future, our parenting styles today, the 3 proven ways that we'll get into. Dream teen parenting, that's just going to be a summary of what dream teen parenting is and can look like. Some further solutions, and then there'll be an invitation for you all and a Q&A, like I say, at the end, if we have time. Okay, so sometimes the beginning of these webinars can start off looking like just quite grim reading, but it's not meant to be grim. It's meant to, in a way, just say like, wow, we are, we're up against it in these times in some ways, so dynamic. And I must say, I feel like the challenges are all offset by the opportunity. And so in a way, that's what's so intoxicating for me around this topic and this subject, is that I really see that with many of our difficulties, there is an equivalent liberation, or a sense, if we can open up to the dynamism of these times and be brave and trust and take these leaps that probably we all know we need to make in all areas of life, not just parenting, also in business, then, we can really make our lives a great deal easier and more effective, more harmonious, and really start to open up our potential as a global human society. So struggling systems and society, no question. Our education system and many other systems, political systems, financial systems, etc., all of them are struggling, and our society in general, you could look at it and say, it's a very dynamic, challenging time. Indoctrination, take that word with a pinch of salt, is meant kind of not as a joke, but indoctrination from our own parents just alludes to the fact that we often can parent in the same ways that we were parented. So this is also for many parents that I'm in contact with, something that we work on. It's something that we really raise awareness around, and we don't want to parent the way we were parented a lot of the time, not just because we might not like that idea, but also because it is completely out of date in many ways to parent the way that we were parented. Competition and comparison has always been kind of involved with parenting. So that's also something that's not helpful for us, to be comparing our children, for example, to other children, and trying to make our children all one particular way, or trying to measure up to some ideal, or even just to meet the norm, is not helpful for us in our parenting. And then the rate of change in society in general, wow, the last few years, definitely. But I mean, the acceleration of change through also technology, media and communications, and going into really what is a pretty unknown and unpredictable future. But like I say, for me, that's extremely exciting. I'm loving some of this breakdown of our old institutions, and really excited about what we can, what's coming in to replace them. Great. Our children's future, so things are shifting also with employments. This substance is something I'm very keen on, with grades actually. Substance in grades, substance in learning, substance in the individual, the young person themselves, that they have substance, that they know what they're about, that they have engaged with some sort of development and learning to the point where it's obvious, and useful for employment, for example. It's just one part of how we want to prepare our kids for the future, to make sure that they have that substance, that they get that engagement, and that they know how to go forth into the workforce. 21st century skills, you'll all probably be aware of these. There are many more than just 5 of them or 4 of them, but these are the ones that I'm always most keenly aware of, in the way that we need to kind of shift gear from what's come before to what's coming in the future. What is needed in the future, but in employment, are these 4 and many others, but everyone more or less agrees that collaboration, teamwork, problem solving, creativity are what our children need to be developing. And yet we have this rapid change and the dying of the old institutions and customs, and the shift from being told what to do or doing what you're told in schools, and the rote learning, into this opening to self-direction and finding your own passion, and being, also in the working sense, there's a mirror there with entrepreneurship and the creation of new roles. Many people predict that much of the employment our children will be facing in the future doesn't exist yet. The roles don't exist. They're going to be created by this next generation. So that's both very exciting and very, very scary in some ways. We don't know what future we're walking into. And yeah, also just this last point is just about solving the world's problems. You know, if we can open up to the potential in our children, and if we can start to educate them otherwise and parent them otherwise, and really embrace each of their diverse individuality and natural strengths and natural vision, and to really trust, respect, and honor how they come into what they see as they come into the world, rather than dominating too much with our own ideas, then perhaps they can solve the world's problems. You know, our mindset and our way of approaching the world has created the world's problems. So, you know, it's my sense that the more we can open up to our children's potential, the more we can solve the environmental challenge, political challenges, and social challenges. Yeah, and this is what we want for our children. Okay, I just get this really simple. You know, all parents I speak to, you know, whatever we might be pushing for, you know, I work kind of in I've got an academic background, so I'm a tutor and a mentor and a parent coach. So for me, it's often related to schooling, but every parent I speak to says the same thing. You know, whatever the pressures are to get the grades or to get onto the next institution or whatever it might be, all parents basically agree to these five and others, of course, but this is just a list. We all want our kids to be happy. We want them to be fulfilled in school and out of school and in life, in their future life work. We want them to be successful. That is a word that I would love to see. Like, what is success? How about that in the chat? I'd love to see, like, what is success to you for your child in a word or two. Would be really cool to see. Many people would define that very differently, but you know, perhaps it's one of the ones already on this list, just so they'd be happy, that they be fulfilled. And also increasingly, there's a sense of, wanting, knowing that we need our children to be beneficial. This is part of the collaboration. This is part of what we want to see, that they're actually of benefit, social benefit, that they're having an impact, that they're doing good in the world, that we're doing good in the world as well. The world is all shifting much more towards this way of looking at life, not so self-focused and self-centered, self-serving, selfish, but much more collaborative and generous, and a wish to kind of really create a better world than we currently have, and also close. So yeah, we want our kids, we want our teens to remain close to us. We want to survive these years where so much can come up, and make sure that we don't lose them in the process. This is one thing that really gets me going in my work. It's just the wish not to see conflict in families at this age and stage, in the teenage age and stage. Conflict can just come up over so many different areas. So yeah, you know, schoolwork, you know, gaming, lifestyle choices, sex, drugs, you know, drinking, whatever it might be, disrespectful relating, just rebellion, you know, whatever it might be. We really want to keep our kids close, also to get best results. So, you know, this webinar, which is, you know, to empower motivation, purpose, and joy. You know, if you want to get the best grades, or you want your kids to get the best grades, I think you could do a lot worse than prioritizing some of these things to keep your kids close, you know, no matter what. So to reduce conflict is a big passion of mine. Great. And yes, so these are ways in which I feel like collectively we've lost our way in parenting. So you know, we are viral creatures. We do learn from each other. I mean, more than learn from each other, we just naturally seem to adopt all the same sorts of behaviors, which is why parenting and many other things goes in phases, in trends. You know, we move as a pack. So there has been a massive increase in helicoptering, just helicopter parenting, way closer kind of parenting than we have done in the past, where, you know, if you read about parenting anecdotally from 80 years ago or whatever, you know, the parents were like, I always think of To Kill a Mockingbird, when you know, the kids are they've got 3 months where their parents just barely have any idea kind of where they are, with all the care and love, and the parents of course do know. They tuck them up in bed at night or whatever, they eventually come back, but they have a lot of freedom. So decreasing freedom in this day and age, you know. So we also have decreased their freedom. Even though times have changed around us, we can fall more and more into not giving our teenage children essential freedoms and distance from us. And yeah, so yeah, micromanagement. And yeah, this is also, I put in neurodiversity just to give myself a nod to just say, by the way, this is a webinar that is speaking in very general terms, and I'm aware of the fact that there is no one standard for how any teenager should be. So some teenagers need a lot more management or scaffolding or support than other teenagers do, not least in regards to neurodiversity. But my hypothesis is that all teenagers can be trusted and can be left alone and can exceed our expectations, perhaps, if we do find trust difficult to enact in our parenting. There's a lot more there that we can access and that we can empower in them than sometimes we realize. And yeah, getting away from this lifestyle of nagging, just the nagging, that one word just comes up again and again and again when I hear from parents about their challenges and their stresses, and what they would wish to take out. The first thing they would wish to take out from their parenting is like, oh, the nagging. I just find myself nagging the whole time. And these are also slightly old parenting ways. Perhaps we were nagged a lot, or we were badgered a lot when we were growing up. So yeah, pressurizing, the pressure is also just cultural. It's something we kind of can't do something about in one way. And then in another way, we've got such an opportunity as parents to just take all the pressure off our children. We can be the ones that bring the most pressure. Your children will show you that if they're just responding to you in certain ways. You can just see when you are part of that pressure, bringing part of that pressure on them. And there is so much on them in any case these days. So yeah, we really have a vital role to take as much pressure as possible off them. And again, I would say that more often than not, it does completely depend on each family, each circumstance, each child, each parent. But more often than not, if we take the pressure off, then we can start to see that motivation in our children, that the joy and the empowerment and the purpose creeping in. Yeah. And top-down management, yeah, just the old management styles. Speaking with a business friend of mine the other day, I was listening to a guy who said that we're really moving from the old style of management in business, exactly the same as parenting, of command and control. No one would put their hand up for that, but that is subtly, in a very sort of faux enlightened way, sometimes still what we're doing, controlling and commanding, into trust and inspiring. He's got a book coming out called Trust and Inspire, which I just absolutely love. That's how we should be managing in the future. That's also how we should be parenting, trust and inspire. Love that. Stephen Covey, he's called. Yes, pressing parenting priorities. Okay, for this, yeah, this is what I just come back to again and again and again. So I run weekly parenting calls. I'm a parent coach. I'm in contact with parents one-to-one and in groups. And, you know, acceptance is just, these are absolutely fundamental for children to feel totally accepted, perfect as they are, however they are. And, you know, we really mustn't be trying to squeeze them into some other form or to be other than that. Just the more open we can be to them exactly as they are and finding their own agency and identity, the better for everyone. And belonging, inclusivity. Yeah, you know, again, it's like an openness to really what is much broader than we've come to know it, but offering our children just ultimate belonging, that there's no conditions, of course, to the love and the acceptance and the belonging in our family. And empowerment, yeah, through trust. So trust, I've already mentioned. It's a massive, for me, it's the leap of faith that we need to take. So, you know, that the parenting role can also be well defined as empowering children. You know, we don't really have, it's to empower them. It's not so much to, yeah, whatever the other interpretations of parenting might be, ultimately we're looking for our child's empowerment, their own independence as well. So when they're teenage, we want them to go forth, we want to empower them completely, rather than you know, corralling them or controlling them or trying to get them to do things our way. We want their own empowerment. And yet diversity, I mean, I long to see a world where there's far greater diversity of natural passions, interests, and abilities being explored in and out of this current schooling system. And yeah, this contribution, our own children's contribution through discovering their own identities and their own individuality, to just discover their own innate wisdom and knowledge, like I referred to before, solving the world's problems. You know, I want to know what each of these children has to offer. And so, you know, opening up to what their unique contribution can be and really empowering that as parents is a very beautiful prospect. Yeah, and giving them ownership and autonomy of their studies and their life in and out of school. So yeah, their own ownership is absolutely essential for me. There isn't much going on in school or in learning. There aren't many great benefits of schooling and learning unless the student is taking complete ownership, total responsibility, or as much responsibility and ownership of their own studies as they can. With our support, the more the better. Otherwise, it's an extremely empty process. I'm not sure it has much value. Okay, so these are, the 3 steps. So the first one is just to relax. Like, as parents, there is so much that we can get stuck in, so much we can get caught up in this role, in this day and age. And some of what I've hopefully already said through the webinar, some of the backdrops, some of the pressures on us, some of the ways that are informing how we're showing up in our parenting, I hope will speak to this. But we really need to be able to just relax about the whole situation, our own pressure as well in parenting, our own expectations. So yeah, we need to let them be as they are. I've covered this already. Opening up our own expectations around them. Yeah, you know, the more we can open up what our expectations are, the less expectations we can have, the more we can drop our expectations. In fact, the more they can just move into their own agency and take that up and show us what they've got, basically show us what they are and what they can become. But our expectations often don't help. Now you'll know when you're over that line and when you're not, when those expectations are serving. But I hope you can understand what I mean about dropping expectations. Taking responsibility for our own anxieties. So yeah, from the parent calls, very often I can hear parents realizing this, just realizing how much of their own parenting is really just a projection of their own fears, of our own fears, our own sense of worries and concern. You know, if we pour that into our parenting or into our child's circumstance, if they're like facing GCSEs in 3 months' time or something, our own anxieties can really, really disturb the picture for them around their own intrinsic motivation and what they're trying to achieve in that setup. Yeah. Relaxing also creates a fertile ground and atmosphere. So, you know, we want to give them, we need our homes to be peace zones. You know, we need them to be also able to relax with us, to see our role modeling of us being relaxed and open about life. So that really is, it's fertile for them to have that atmosphere and to see that in us and to have that when they come home, rather than the opposite kind of atmosphere, which would be very pressurizing and with all sorts of conditions and a general tension. Yeah, being open to their full expression of themselves and trusting them. We've covered this. So yeah, that's the first step, is just to relax all our own expectations, our own anxieties, and to provide an atmosphere that is very relaxed for them as well at home. So yeah, we're going to show now a video, if we can, of a parent just talking about her experiences of trusting.
My youngest was, very pleased to see me, and that's so nice. It's been a change, as I've spoken about several times, and he expressed that he has missed me and that kind of things he hasn't done before. It's not that I appreciate that he misses me, but it's I think it's just nice that he can express his feelings towards me. But yesterday I just asked him if he wanted to spend some time with me, and yeah, just kept it all open. But he came and crawled next to me on the sofa. So it's just so nice to see that he really enjoys spending time with me, and is so cozy, and yeah, that's nice, because he can be the total opposite as well. So it's I enjoy those moments. So it's yeah, that's totally a game shifter.
Yeah, great. Well, that is one of the parents from the parent calls, just sharing her experience of the week's trust challenge that we did, and that shift in a teenage boy, which really is so fundamental to be able to keep them close. I was really stunned to hear her share about that physical closeness that had come in from her trusting and really just relaxing her own tensions around supporting her son at this particular time. And so, yeah, it is very powerful. We'll hear also from another mother on a similar theme around just those foundations for relationship that are so essential for us to be able to support in the other ways as well, which might be motivation, drive in school, or whatever they might be, that to first of all really set up this basis for relationship, for cozy, harmonious relationship is really key. All right, great. Thanks for that interruption, Sam. We'll have a little video after each one of these. So retire, yeah, retire is a word that like mustn't be misunderstood, but it's a great one, for parents. I think many of us need to just retire from much of our fussing and overactive parenting apparently wasn't even a word about 10 or 15 years ago. It's become this sort of very active, the word is very active, suggests a very active role. But a lot of it is over the top, and it's kind of self-defeating. This is my great obsession with parenting. So yeah, stepping back, that is what I would really recommend, to empower motivation, joy, and purpose in your child. Step back from the fussing and the micromanaging and the nagging. This really is self-defeating parenting more often than not. To be on our children's cases so much, and to be also causing ourselves a great deal of stress in the process, trying to manage or trying to get our kids to do something just repeatedly with lots of nagging. And part of that is releasing control as well. When we retire, we do open up to like, well, what are they going to do? And, so we have to have quite a bit of trust there. And we also have to realize that we just have no choice. There is no other good route to go than to trust our children, to open up to what they're going to do, to hand over to them. And not presuming that we know what's best. So this is part of the problem with the obsessive micromanaging and nagging, is that we just continually want to correct every little thing. And we need to let a lot slide, a lot roll, be a bit more distant and philosophical about what they're up to, as long as it's not harmful to themselves or others or to us. Just we're too present, in some ways. So and in this way also, through retiring, empowering their own self-leadership and decision making. When we step back, they are able to step up. So that was one of the taglines for the work I do a while back. Parents step back and teens can step up. It can't really happen without these actions. Parents, first of all, relaxing everything, relaxing their expectations, calming down about everything, and then also taking the step to retire from the stuff that just isn't serving us as parents or them as children. Speaking respectfully with them and about them. This has also been a huge topic for us in the calls. And even about them, it's obvious speaking respectfully with them, although it is very challenging for us to do that a lot of the time. But even speaking about them, we want to hold our children in the highest regard, and really, I think we've got too used to this way of supporting ourselves as parents in a group where we might just be disrespecting our children or talking about them in a certain way that everyone can understand, the shorthand of kind of lazy teenagers. And it's completely fine. I actually spoke with a mum even this morning who apologized for using that word. You know, we know that, but at the same time, there's a big difference with really in our hearts, holding them in the highest regard, just reducing the tendency to, and these are the old parenting ways, also to criticize, to blame, to be judging our children. You know, like I feel like really the more mature step is to really take responsibility for all that we've exposed our child to, some of which is not our fault, so to speak, and some of which really is to do with how we've been parenting. You know, they're in a culture, they're in a schooling system that we can't do much about in some ways. But yeah, taking responsibility for what we've provided for them as well is a great step. Yeah, giving them time and space, patience. Okay, so when we also retire, you know, teenagers just badly need this time and space to develop themselves. Children do. Children of all ages need their own time and space, and we need to. It's not a long road, as in years and years and years. Well, it could be, but it takes real patience to be able to step back, give time and space, and allow our children to take the lead, to start to take up responsibility, to start to show us exactly the kinds of things that we might feel are like dreamland territory at the moment, where they really do take on personal responsibility. They're really motivated. It takes time, you know, so we can't expect a quick fix. You know, 6 months, a year. Usually the parents I'm in touch with, and we'll hear from one of them perhaps after this, you know, just about like some of the wow moments are like, wow, 3 years later, even, you know, suddenly you've got a complete change, a total shift, something that you would have been just no way that would ever come about for your child. That, you know, they're like reading books or something. You know, that's the example that this particular parent, you know, just is inconceivable to her, but he reads poetry to his family and he reads books. The opposite was the case when I first met her, you know, so it takes time. We've got to be patient, and we've got to trust them through the ups and downs. It's going to be up and down. So if we are going to retire from self-defeating parenting, from nagging, micromanaging, you've got to really continue to trust them as things can go, you know, up and down. And then this last thing is just that often, sometimes with parents, you get to the point where you're like, well, we keep thinking that there is like a real problem. There's a problem with our kids, but there's a lot of projection as well. Sometimes we can just be obsessively thinking there's a problem, and you know, I've got to do something about this, got to do something about that. What's powerful about parent coaching and through the 12-week program that I offer, when I'm one-to-one with a parent, we can sometimes see, wow, actually, you know, now that we've dealt with a few little things here or there, or maybe a few big things, like now we've just got to get used to the fact that there isn't actually a problem. There isn't a problem anymore. Parenting can be so obsessively problem focused. And, you know, sometimes we just got to go, okay, I actually need to find like something else to think about here. I need to refocus my attention so that I'm not obsessing over my children and dredging up problems, you know, the what ifs, that endlessly we can want more, or think that maybe this isn't right or that isn't right. Sometimes we've got to call ourselves out and just go, actually, there isn't much of a problem. He's fine or she's fine. And I just need to like calm myself down again. So yeah, let's have a look at that next video. Sam, will you share the next video? What's your advice for a 14-year-old, a parent of a 14-year-old who's like, whoa, GCSEs are coming and it's just not feeling like a fit? What can I do?
I think your word retire, you know, I think step right back away from making it yours and just be there for whatever they decide they want to do with it. I would say, you know, and don't freak out. I mean, not don't freak out, because I freaked out.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah.
Try and find, you know, whatever will support you not to freak out, because it's counterproductive anyway. The more stressed that child, I work with teenagers, and I mean, it's so upsetting to hear how stressed they are and how sick they feel and all the kind of emotional and physical responses they feel to the stress of school. And I think that as parents, we can, the best we can do is provide the space where we're not adding to that. At least we're not adding to that. At the very least, we step back and they know that they're safe to be ambivalent, to kick it. I mean, the number of times Henry supported me to go, okay, let's see let's give him that option of jacking this all in. And you think, okay, oh my God, now we're standing on the top of the diving board. Are we really going to let him jump? And that's the best thing. And anyone who needs some support, Henry is just fantastic at being there, and a massive support for me. So many times when I felt beside myself, a conversation with Henry just brought me back, and I was like, okay, reality check, perspective. Today's just one day, you know, all of that. But yeah, I would say all the things that you've said about letting go, pulling back, retiring, and let it be theirs. It's never going to mean anything to them anyway if it isn't theirs. So yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, yeah, Miriam really walked the walk, and in some ways she does speak to the importance of having some support. So, you know, in the parent coaching work I do, you'll all have an opportunity to, you know, to book a call with me and to look into that after this webinar. But it's sometimes hard to, you know, sometimes we need like a community. So that's why we have the group parenting calls. That's why I work one-to-one with the parents as well as the teens. So simultaneously, I'm tutoring the teens and running a mentorship program with the teens, working on their mindset in relation to schooling, and also supporting the parents to step back, you know, to relax, to retire, all these things. And then it works extremely well with the right parent and the right teen when both are open to this way and want to make this leap, want to make this change. It works extremely well. So yeah, Miriam was one of those cases in point where it was just such a perfect leap of faith for her to just trust and to take that support from me and to take that support from the group. And for her son as well, for him to just also be liberated from otherwise just the tension and the stress and the micromanagement and nagging, you know, and that style of parenting. So yeah, that was a great experience for all of us. All right, so then let's get into the last one. The third step is, yeah, the handover. So once we've relaxed and created a nice, just calmed down about the whole circumstance of parenting, opened up, you know, our hearts and minds to the fact that probably everything is fine, and then we've retired also from our own obsessive, whatever those tendencies might be, to just be self-defeating in our parenting style, we must then actually hand over responsibility to this is an active process to be handing over responsibility to our children. So we can't just walk away. I'm not suggesting abandonment or neglect, you know, in that sort of way. It's really just a gradual process of handing over responsibility to them, trusting that they can take it up and helping them, you know. So stepping back, yes, but also, you know, being there for them, giving them the tools that they need, you know, allowing them to fail also. Yeah, and communicating with them without judgment or pressure. So, you know, our children are so attuned to how we view them. They're so aware of what we're thinking, even if we don't say anything. You know, that's why it's important to also do the work on what we actually, how we actually are thinking about them, or how we, yeah, holding them in the highest regard. You know, that is just such a great, because they can tell when they're being judged, even if we don't say it. But certainly our communication needs to be free of that. It needs to be empowering, supportive, inviting of them for taking on this responsibility. And yeah, leaving them to it. We need to back right off. A formal ceremony for this, yeah. I mean, this is just an idea that someone had once or whatever, and you know, it could be that's also, we're missing rites of passage work. So I'm not laughing at it in that way, but you know, it could be a formal moment, and that actually many of the parents from the Trust Challenge and from the groups have done it like that, where it's an official handover. It's like, right, it's not done in a huff. It's literally just like, all right, this is not working for us anymore. You know, this is stressful for me, it's stressful for you, or whatever. So this is it. We're going to hand over. I'm not going to, and you know, having a contract as well. I'm not going to nag you about this or try and push you in this direction anymore. We're not going to have this war over the gaming boundaries or the bedtime boundaries. You know, I'm just going to hand over all of those areas that are difficult between us, or we're going to at least speak and collaborate, form a kind of team around what is best for all, just to open up. So it's not top-down management. It's not like the parents have to have all the answers and the parents have to be running the show. It's an opening for everyone to start collaborating together, and a formal handover can be great. Yeah, this allows them then to find the natural strengths, passions, and interests when we can step back from anything we might be, any ways in which we might be limiting that. And yeah, we need to find this line between presence and absence. One client said, you know, they want our help and they don't want to help, you know, so her son might ask for help, but then, you know, in the same breath, just be really annoyed when she's helping too much. So we've got to find this line, like what is supportive, and what's the kind of support that they want. Let's not get too carried away, getting too stuck in. I'm thinking specifically of GCSE preparation. This particular mother, you know, is just so keen to help, you know. She's like into the kind of Jekyll and Hyde set text, or into the video content before he is. And so, you know, he's deflated because she's like running away with it. He's like wanting to get his revision together to start kind of taking that on for himself and holding his own overview and preparing for these exams. But she's so excited to support that in a way she's overwhelming him. So, you know, yes, there's a line there between us supporting when they need it and when they asked for it, and also just leaving them to it. So a line between presence and absence. And yeah, what are the real lessons? What is the real learning through this phase? So I'm totally into this. You know, I'm all for everyone getting great grades, so long as their learning actually has substance and meaning and they're genuinely committed to it, and you know, have achieved those grades through that means. The empty grades I'm not into at all. I don't think there's, you know, I think the real lessons are missed in that case when we're just hoop jumping, getting the grades, getting the paperwork and moving on. The real lessons and the real learning is absent from that process. The real lessons are to do with taking on responsibility, growing in maturity, sometimes making mistakes, failing, you know. So these are the much bigger lessons through the process of, for example, GCSEs or exams, for those of you not in England, than getting them through each test and getting a good grade or whatever it might be. You know, there's much more profound lessons going on at the same time. All right, Sam, next video would be awesome because I can see the time.
Got to a situation where I think it was just always negative. You know, all my interactions were, you know, I had another email, why haven't you done this? And so he was miserable. I think I was miserable. We were sort of it was all very negative, and he wasn't responding. He wasn't responding either. It wasn't helping. So I think we got into a situation where I think he couldn't see his way out. He sort of, you know, got to a point where he didn't quite know what to do rather than bury his head and continued in the same way. I couldn't see how to support him. And I was feeling very responsible, you know, to help him sort of catch up again, I guess. Mm. So I think that's sort of how it started. I think he was sort of disengaged, you know, lacked any enthusiasm for anything at school, you know, wasn't enjoying anything at all. Wasn't really sort of engaging with his friends that much and doing things outside of home. So we were in quite a bad place. And I think I just needed somebody to support him who wasn't me, who wasn't school, somebody who could, you know, be almost like a friend to him, just so he could actually say, this is what I'm really struggling with, you know, what should I be doing? A mentor as you are. Yeah, so finding you and working with you was the start of that. And we'll probably go on to that, but you know, there's been a huge change. I don't know what happens in those calls, your first call, but you know, it works, it really does. He must have felt that it offered something, because he was quite happy and has always been actually really positive about all of the calls and the times he has them chatting with you. You know, it's great. You know, he comes home from school, and instead of me saying, oh, I've got an email from the school, you know, why haven't you handed this in? You know, which is what the past was like. And not saying that's completely gone, you know, that it hasn't, but what I'm now getting is emails saying, you know, he was really engaged, you know, he was really interested, he did a great piece of work. And so to be able to greet him, you know, when he comes home, greet him, that sounds really cheesy, but you know, when he comes home, just to say, oh, you know, well done, you know, I got the email, it's fantastic. And he's really pleased. You know, things improved so dramatically, him picking up responsibility, you know, for his work. And also other things outside of work. You know, he's now coaching a football team. He's got sort of other things going on. So it just means that our interaction is very different now. It used to be all, you know, I was that mum on his back. I was the one that you were probably going to have to make that call. And I think you probably did early on. Just, you know, it's just now we can kind of talk about something else. We can laugh. It's just really repaired our relationship.
Yes, wow, Robin, it's always really moving to hear that. And yeah, this is in a way like where relaxing, retiring, and handing over, really also we're talking about getting our relationships back with our teens, you know, ensuring that we do have that closeness. And so many benefits, the ease of just reducing that stress, it's the self-defeating lifestyle of a parent that's nagging and micromanaging, and instead seeing just the self-flourishing, just the you know, the hands-off kind of wow factor of a teen who's really taking it on for themselves. It's just really night and day. So very exciting to see those shifts. Okay, now I can see the time. I'm not going over 1:30, so I'm going to whip through these last two slides, and then I can invite you all to just join me for a call if you'd like to. So Dream Teen Parenting, this is it. Relaxation, taking a leap of faith into trust. So this is a part of the parent module for the 12-week program for teens and parents, is the trust challenge content that I was referring back to, taking this leap of faith and having that support to do that. Relief from around the clock stress and anxiety. So yeah, you know, when I first meet parents, there can be a lot going on, literally day and night. It interferes with the parents' work. There are so many benefits to making this leap, making this change, doing a lot less, winning a lot more. Taking responsibility for our own parenting, schooling and culture. So yeah, there's got to be that step as well. There can't be any room for blame, criticism, and judgment of our children. They're children, you know, and I think that whilst they do have some accountability and of course their own personal responsibility, a huge part of it is just like how the culture we've immersed them in and how we've brought them up. So there's often a bit of, yeah, we need to also just accept that without being beating ourselves up or anything about it. It is what it is. But no self-blame and all due self-love, but taking responsibility still for the fact that our kids are demotivated if they are, whatever. Yeah, and the relationship. So we want closeness, not conflict. You know, when we're getting into conflict, that is a great time to seek some support and just to also ask yourself the question whether it's worth it over whatever that boundary or that insistence or that element is in your relationship. Yeah, and enjoyment, essential. This is a huge part of the trust challenge, as well as just fun times with each other. Don't let things get too grim and too intense, too stressful. Make sure you're just having easygoing time with them as well. Openness and adventure. Yeah, giving up on control. It's a great adventure. Like I said in the beginning of this webinar, there's so many awesome opportunities here for us to love, like the surprise that our children are and the diversity that they represent, and to really open things up from a very narrow focus that we've had traditionally also through schooling, and teamwork with them. Yeah, collaborating with them. We're not commanding them. We're not command and control. It's a collaboration project, and we also need to like formalize that when we're no longer the lead and we open up to their own leadership and a shared responsibility. Yes, 3 minutes. All right, further solutions. Yeah, parents who learn to trust and empower. I'm going to just whip straight through this. Providing an atmosphere of love and safety, acceptance and belonging. I've mentioned all of this. Mentorship, massive solution to this problem. And I'm available. So I'll give you an option to book a call with me after this if you feel like mentorship's needed for your teen, and parent coaching for you. Teens especially, so powerful. Coaching for them as well, and for parents, a thinking and listening space to family problems. So nuanced, so complex, so hard to speak to in the general, but yeah, it's an area I'm so excited about. So yeah, thinking and listening space for parents, also to work through your own problems. Finding love and liberation in the system. We've got to empower this system if we can't be a victim to the education system or any other system. So we're really wanting to find the empowerment in whatever our circumstance is, and we can. Yeah, being a team player in a classroom setting, that's for the students really. It's just to, you've got to make school work for you. And so that's part of just being in a team with your teacher rather than against them, for example. Yeah. Learning how to rest, how to settle. Okay, this stuff, I'm just going to have to skip through this. Maths, essay writing, overcoming our fears, using our minds effectively, trusting in our own ideas. That's what maths and English are for me, those 4 things. So I'm very deep reaches into otherwise what can be quite simple seeming subjects, but I think they have such opportunities for young people. All right, so relax, retire, hand over, and yeah, please do. So the offer here, and we'll put it in the chat. It'll also follow in the email after this. Also going out to everyone who's going to watch the recording of this webinar is the invitation to book a 30-minute discovery call with me. So that's 30 minutes for me to just walk you through the steps. I'll hear your circumstance, to walk you through how you can get from your present situation to where you want to be. I would love to meet with any of you. Please do put the link into the chat, Sam, if you haven't already. There it is. Book a call. There's not so many slots, and there's a lot of people that will be watching this webinar recording after this. So please do just book in that half-hour discovery call. I would love to meet with you very openly. Obviously, I can see if I can help, and if I can't, then I'll be so happy to just walk you through a 30-minute strategy session on what you could do to resolve your situation, get you from where you are, where you're stuck, and where you're feeling stuck, and where you want to be. So thank you so much, everybody, for today. We've just about made it on time. Yes, we're on the half hour. So yeah, it's been a delight to speak to you. I hope it's been useful. I would love to hear in the survey how it's been for you, what stood out for you, what's resonated. And otherwise, we will leave it there and look forward to seeing you. We run a monthly webinar every month, so we'll be in touch with you about the next one as well if you want to join there. So thanks so much, everybody, for now. I've been Henry Dingle. I'm a teen mentor and parent coach. And yeah, much love to you all and your families. And great to be with you. Please do be in touch about the 30-minute discovery call, and let us know how the webinar was for you in the survey. Great to be with you all. See you all soon. All right. Bye.